The institution at Segetu Mamartsie was off the main road, behind a barbed wire fence, secured with a locked gate, and watched by a guard. Jan tricked the guard into unlocking the gate, and we all stormed in, unannounced. Even after all we had seen, we were unprepared for what we found in an upstairs room. Here, young girls, their heads shaven, were kept in a giant cage like animals. Wild-eyed, screaming, half-naked, splashing in urine and excrement on the filthy floor. As the staff tried to quickly put clothing on them, we were ordered out.
Why are you putting us out? Why?
12 noon. We were allowed back inside the cage at the institution. It was mealtime. The food budget here is set by the government, 38 cents per day per child. We watched as a watery soup of broth and bread heels was shoveled into hungry mouths. Many of the children had never been taught to feed themselves. While the staff hurriedly fed half the children, just a few feet away, others were put on plastic potties in a bizarre daily routine that combines toilet time with meal time. For Jan, it was the breaking point.
These are human beings. These are human beings.
You're a Romanian. To see this in your home country, is that especially painful?
This would move me anywhere, Tom. Anywhere in the world, this is not acceptable. But it's happening here in Romania today. How can an institution and a society come so low that they forget basic respect for human life? And I know we can make a change. I know we can improve the situation for these children.
Sounds of children in distress. The images are just as disturbing. These are orphans kept at a government-sanctioned facility, virtually in the dark and on their own. This child is tied down. A team of international doctors have come to this orphanage in the heart of Port-au-Prince, led here by reports of neglect and abuse.
Every one of them malnourished, scabies, ringworms, stomach worms.
Jeff Quinlan, an American paramedic, used his personal camera to film the conditions.
It was pretty much like a zoo. They just had pretty much metal cages set up with 2 and 3 kids stuck in them. It was definitely one of the most upsetting things that I've ever seen.
So upsetting, the medical team decided to rescue them on their own. One of the first to be taken out gets a full examination at Haiti's community hospital. There are no official records, but they believe Manueli is a year old.
Okay. Well, she's obviously thin. She's been malnourished. She does have the pneumonia, but she's not particularly having difficulty breathing.
To the doctor's relief, most of the others have healthy appetites. The team was only allowed to remove 19 of 40 children.
Russia is threatening to suspend all child adoptions by U.S. families after a 7-year-old adopted Russian boy was sent back to his homeland by his adopted family here in the States. Thursday, he arrived all alone in Moscow, carrying a note from his adopted mom, a Tennessee woman, saying she was returning him because he was violent and had severe psychological problems.
Let's bring in Joyce Sturkle now. She's an expert on international adoption. Joyce, good morning to you.
Good morning.
In fact, you work with a lot of parents who have these kids that are adopted and wind up having issues like this young boy did.
Yes, I do.
So you're not surprised to hear that some people have actually been sympathetic to this mother?
I would say overwhelmingly anyone who has parented a post-institutionalized child with the difficulties is very sympathetic for this mother, even though they may not agree with the manner by which she handled it.
I know that you say it's actually not unusual to have children adopted from Russia have issues. Why is that, and what kind of issues?
Well, when we adopt a child, we expect that love heals, but we cannot love away a child's genetic foundation, his pre-verbal memories, or his intrauterine exposure to alcohol.
And that's a big problem with Russian kids specifically?
Yes, it's a problem everywhere that pregnant women drink. And certainly in Russia that's the case. That can cause permanent organic brain damage, which can prevent this little child from receiving the love you want to give them.
Okay, my name is Faith. My last name is Sadowski, and I'm born in China. I know it's a surprise, right?
It's so good to be home. It's so nice to hear people speaking English.
My friends all ask me why we adopted in China. I just said there was something missing in our family, I guess.
It's very difficult for her. She's being expected to give up so much. Bagel.
If she doesn't get what she wants, there's major hissy fits being thrown. Major hissy fits.
Who will break it? They'll break it.
Yeah.
In China, I didn't know why they adopted me and why they loved me.
Each year, thousands of Americans look overseas to add to their families. Last year alone, nearly 13,000 children from other countries were adopted by American families. The majority of those children come to the United States from China. The new POV documentary, Wo Ai Ni Mommy, follows the path one family takes from adopting a child in China to her first year and a half in the United States. Her name is Faith.
Yes.
8 years old. She had the native language. She was speaking Chinese, and she was also with a foster family that had to make things terribly difficult at times.
Yes, it was. It was extremely difficult. Faith loved her foster family, and I'm sure she really didn't want to be coming to the United States, but we felt that she needed a family, she needed a permanent family, and the foster family could not do that for her.
So finally you get her out of China, she's in the United States, and then most people would think, oh, happily ever after it's done. You had more problems.
Sure. She was 8 years old, she's a whole person, she has her own ideas, and we took her from her country, from her culture, from her foster family, and brought her into a place where she could not speak the language, wasn't familiar with the food, wasn't familiar with the people. And for an 8-year-old child, that's pretty scary.
And Donna, I have to ask this. When you think back to when you first met Faith in China, to where you are right now, through the frustration, through the tears, through the pain, all the way here to where you've made it and where she seems to be a happy little girl in America, how does that make you feel?
I have no words to really describe that. I am thrilled to death that things worked out, that the way that they did, that she was able to open her heart and her mind and embrace us as a family, because we were ready to embrace her as our daughter and sister, and she willingly embraced us as well. So for me, that was the most joyful part, was that she was willing to take that chance on us.
I think people find it a controversial and emotional issue because they see media representations of Madonna coming back with a child in a very short space of time. They think that this is exploiting the children, and they see Madonna as being able to buy a child. Globalization has a direct impact on international adoption. I think it has a positive impact in that we now have a worldwide community of people who are able to communicate with each other about international adoption. The negative side is that there are another community of people who could exploit individual children and could be involved in trafficking of children. We need international regulation to make sure that doesn't happen. Quantitative information gives a broad overview and looks at international adoption from a statistical point of view. Qualitative information focuses down on individuals in that research study that are actually at the receiving end. My interest in research is very much around qualitative research and about looking at structural macro issues and how they impact on individual users and carers. I think the important thing about qualitative interviews and qualitative research generally is that it gives meaning to wider policy debates. People who have been on the receiving end of services should be able to have a say about the services that they've received.
Inside her tiny office on New York's Upper East Side, Dr. Jane Aronson is a modern-day medicine woman, a caretaker not only to her patients here,
Thank you. You're welcome, Cease.
but also an ambassador to thousands more overseas, uniting little souls with American parents seeking to give them a home. From Dylan, who arrived from Moldova just a few weeks ago,
Give me knuckles, baby.
to Cece, born in China. While international adoption can offer potential parents more options, newly adopted children often have physical ailments.
Good boy, huh? These are children who are born small and somewhat immune compromised, and then they living in developing nations where there's risks of tuberculosis, parasites, exposure to hepatitis.
The 58-year-old infectious disease specialist gained worldwide attention after treating Angelina Jolie's daughter Zahara from a life-threatening bacterial infection shortly after she arrived from Ethiopia. Dr. Aronson also provides an antidote for emotional issues as well.
I've spent the last 20 years traveling to orphanages all over the world to see the conditions that kids grow up in. I know when they arrive here how hurt and sad and empty and how yearning they are, to love.
And Dr. Aronson isn't immune. It's why she helps new moms like Nanette Green bond with their daughters.
She didn't see me as somebody that was going to take her and be her mama for the rest of her life.
But not anymore, thanks in part to Dr. Jane's guidance. Recently, Glamour magazine named her one of its Women of the Year, recognizing her work through the Worldwide Orphans Foundation. She started it 12 years ago to provide health care and a healthier life to children left orphaned by disease, war, and starvation.
She is a miracle worker.
The adoption guru has brought her work home. She and her partner Diana adopted two sons, 11-year-old Des from Ethiopia and 9-year-old Ben from Vietnam.
Kids would want a family, would do anything to have what all of us have, a family who takes care of them, loves them, and gives them hugs at night and tucks them in bed.
And in this holiday season, families who've already given life to an unwanted child say there's no greater gift.